I'm here with St. Joseph's University head coach Phil Martelli, one of the most respected coaches around the country in college basketball. First of all, Coach, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your schedule for granting me this interview. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for including me. I'm a big believer in Philadelphia basketball.
Now, for those unfamiliar with you, can you give us a brief history on your background in basketball as far as how you first got involved and how you ended up where you are today?
Well, basketball-wise in Philadelphia, I've always been engaged in the community. I had a chance to play at St. Joseph's Prep, played in the city championship game against Overbrook in 1971, went on to school at Widener, where we had a number of players from the Philadelphia Public League and the Philadelphia Catholic League. We had great success. I went on to be a high school coach, 7 years at Bishop Kenrick High School. Bishop Kenrick has now closed and has become John Paul II. Came to St. Joseph's 27 years ago. 10 years as an assistant, now 17 years as a head coach. I've had to move my family in neighborhoods, but I've never had to leave Philadelphia. And to chase my dream and never have to move is extraordinary.
Now, you coached Team USA's under-21 team in the 2005 World Championships. How was that experience, and would you like another chance at it?
Well, first of all, USA Basketball treats you second to none. The gear, the way you travel, the respect that you're given, the respect that other countries give to the United States teams makes you feel great to represent your country. So yes, I would like another opportunity to be a part of USA Basketball. And what I really learned is that some of the best players in the country, the methods that I use with my own team here at St. Joseph's, they work. And that even though a player might have a greater reputation that I'm used to dealing with, his willingness to work and to be taught the game of basketball stays the same. So the concepts that I'm presenting are helpful to all players.
Okay. Did the international style of play have any effect on your usual coaching methods?
The international style of practice has had an impact on my coaching. I've watched the international teams practice. They do a lot more shooting than we do, both at the high school level and at the college level in practice. So I've incorporated a lot more shooting, and my individual instructions in my program here are all predicated on shooting, and then some more shooting.
In 2004, you coached one of the city's most beloved teams probably ever. You won National Coach of the Year. Jameer Nelson was National Player of the Year, one of the few times that one school has ever accomplished both. You finished 27-0 that year, and y'all ranked number one in the country. What do you remember most about that season and that team in particular?
Well, that team I remember distinctly that it was a perfect storm. It was a very talented team. 3 of them ended up in the NBA. Most of them had the opportunity to play international basketball for significant amounts of time. They worked very, very hard. The talent was one thing. The people that were on the team and their willingness to do whatever it took for the team to achieve great success speaks volumes about the way they were raised. I often tell people that season went by in the snap of a finger because there was very little that I had to deal with other than basketball. And that's not usually the case in a college job. You're dealing with academic situations, you're dealing with a situation in the dorm, maybe with security or residence life. None of that occurred with that team. That season flew by because the players were extraordinary people.
Can you describe the atmosphere around campus that year?
Well, the atmosphere around campus would chill you. It really did. There were a number of times when I would walk around campus and kids would shout out things to you. People were on campus all the time looking for autographs, particularly from Jameer Nelson. The thing that has always stayed with me is the smiles. Everybody had a smile on their face. Everybody felt like they were a part of something extraordinary, and it truly was extraordinary. And to be honest with you, that's why I get up every day, because I want to bring that feeling back.
You were a point guard for Widener University, and you coached the All-American and Jameer Nelson at the same position. Do you find yourself sometimes being harder on players that play the point for you?
I do think that I'm harder on my point guards because I'm a very big believer in practice, and I work really hard to prepare my practices. I think the games belong to the players, but in order for me to have some say in the game, it has to come through my point guard. So I do lean. I would never compare myself in any way, shape, or form to any of the point guards that I've coached. But I want my knowledge and my voice to be in their head so that they can take and bring it out and lead. I believe that position is about leadership.
You're entering your 17th year as the head coach at St. Joe's. What would you call your biggest victory, and what's been your toughest loss to date?
My biggest victory is all 16 graduation days. I go to graduation every year, and whether it's a manager who's been with the program, the Hawk mascot themselves who's been with the program, or my seniors, to see them and their families celebrating what we talked about 5 years before that when they're high school seniors and sometimes high school juniors. That to me is the greatest victory. And the on-the-court victories, I believe, belong to the players. The toughest defeat was in 04-05. We played for the Atlantic 10 Championship. We played in Cincinnati, and I had a team that was after. They were after Delonte West had gone to the NBA. They were after Jameer Nelson had left for the NBA. We started out rough, maybe 3-7. We ended up winning the Atlantic 10 regular season, and we were 7 seconds away from winning the Atlantic 10 Championship, which even the great team the year before had not won the Atlantic 10 Championship. And we missed an assignment on an inbounds play, and we fouled a kid. They went to the line. Xavier went to the line, made a one-on-one. We lost by a point. That's the game that when I had these time alone, that's the game that passes through my head all the time.
What would you call your proudest moment as a coach? Or your biggest accomplishment in your career, I should say?
Well, my proudest moment would be that my son, Phil, who's now an assistant coach at the University of Delaware with a great Philadelphia guy, Monte Ross, that my son Phil was not a good enough player to play minutes, but his teammates thought enough of him to vote him a captain. I'm really proud of the fact that when players come back and in their way they say thank you, because I think thank you is the most powerful statement in the English language. And if I could teach them one thing, that these 4 years are fleeting, but this relationship that we're building is going to last for the next 40 years of their lives. And the fact that they think enough to come back and invite you to a wedding or come back and give you news about their family, that's what I'm proudest of. And when they don't come back, that's really what hurts the most also.
Every year, Philadelphia produces a lot of Division I talent. More and more, the trend is a lot of that talent tends to leave the city. How do you approach a recruit to try to convince them to, I guess for lack of a better word, stay home?
Yeah, we are in a trend right now in Philadelphia where young guys think that the grass is greener going elsewhere, and some guys have had great success going elsewhere, and you and I could go over name after name after name. What I try to sell is this. These young guys have been raised, whether they've been raised by people in their community, whether they've been raised by a grandparent, whether mom and dad are at home, if they're lucky enough to have mom and dad at home, but they've been raised and they've gotten to this point where they're going to play the most significant basketball of their careers. Don't they want people there who can hug them after a game, in good times and in bad? And then I'm always interested with young people in letting them know some connection. So I tell them, you know, Dorothy was right in The Wizard of Oz. There is no place like home.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about your work with Coaches vs. Cancer?
I'd be glad to. Coaches vs. Cancer started in Philadelphia 15 years ago. We've become the #1 fundraisers in the whole country. It's it's the charity of choice of the National Association of Basketball Coaches. So I put my heart and soul into it, and I've been very, very fortunate here that the St. Joseph's people have allowed me, the administration has allowed me to do fundraising for the American Cancer Society, and that many of the St. Joe's fans have followed and help us on board. But even saying that, we haven't done enough, because somebody will be diagnosed with cancer today. They didn't ask for it, they didn't bargain for it, they didn't buy it, but they got it. And now what we have to do is we have to have a celebration where on your website you can announce cancer free. And then we're going to have a huge party, and it can just be all about ball at that point. But we run several different events. We run a golf tournament, we run a breakfast, we run a black tie gala, we run a beach party, and we also have a school initiative program where grade schools and middle schools and high schools can donate to the cause. But if somebody was diagnosed today that we all know, then we have to stop that. And that's what I'm passionate about it.
I just have one last question for you.
Okay?
Having been a student athlete yourself, what advice would you give for kids entering college as far as the preparation they needed to not only play their sport, but to also get ready to handle the academic load?
That's a great question about the academic load that college presents. The biggest thing about being successful in college is time management, because you're going to have a lot more free time, and you're not going to have a voice standing over top of you saying this has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done. So time management is very, very important. For the young people who are going to go to your website and check this out, one of the biggest things that they have to do is they have to become better readers. And if they can get comfortable with reading, and not out loud, where some people could be embarrassed, but if they can just read to themselves, read something that they're comfortable with, when they get the college textbook, when they get the college assignment, they won't be intimidated. The second part of that would be, don't be intimidated, because these campuses, the people on these campuses care about you, or they wouldn't have you at their school. Seek help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. Everybody on campus needs help. Everybody professionally needs help. Get help. And then the third thing that I would suggest to everybody is quiet your world down and listen so you can learn. The world is too noisy. Kids are too noisy. They got too many gadgets that allow this noise to keep coming at them. But they have to learn how to listen.
Coach, I really want to thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.